path did your life take that put you here, because you are so incredibly gifted at this, at what you're doing?
You and I have kind of had this conversation before, September, and that's why I help people. I ask them, what is truly, truly your passion? Mm-hmm. What is it that drives you, that you don't get a salary for? A lot of times it's just your path in life. And September, all my life, even as a kid, I was the one that would go and talk to that kid that the other kids teased. I was the one that helped the old neighbor that was taking in their groceries. That's just who I am.
So did you seek out the nonprofit profession, or did it find you?
It found me. I relocated. I packed up my 2 boys and moved to California, arriving there July 19th, 1988. And that's why I say with faith comes finance. I had no idea what I was going to do, didn't know anyone, had cousins that I didn't know any better than you, but I had faith that I just wanted to do something different and I could do it. And the way I looked at it, if matter of fact, one of my very dearest friend, Barb, that she's been my best friend since I was 4. When Taraji P. Henson talked about her career and that she was a single mom and she moved to Los Angeles, she sent me the link. She said, Sherita, you got to listen to this. She said, that's you. And I moved to California just knowing that I could make it. And I was working temp, and it's because of my computer skills and my training skills that I had sent my resume ahead. And the temp agency said that they had jobs waiting on me. That's all I needed to hear, September. I packed up my 2 boys. I barely had, I think, if I remember it right, $280. I calculated how much gas it would take in our food. My aunt had said that I could live in her duplex for 6 months without paying rent. And that's all I needed to hear. I quit my job at Sprint, drove to Los Angeles, and never looked back. And so I was working for that temp agency, and I was actually working for IBM, and a position came up with the YMCA. And it hit me that, man, if I go to the Y, my boys could be there and playing all day, and, I'd have childcare, and, and I saw what the Y had always done. I mean, I learned how to swim at the Y, and I took that job, and it was the best thing I ever could have done. It put me right into my true passion. So yes, it found me, but I didn't realize that I had been wanting to live who I was, and the Y allowed me to do that. And how did it happen to do that? Because it was in the nonprofit arena. And, and that's why I came up with my motto, yo, which stands for you or your only limitation.
Mm. I love that. I'd like to adopt that. So
well, you can.
Through this, do you remember your first nonprofit project?
Yes, actually, my very first nonprofit that I formed was for Carl Lewis, who is the Olympian, the track Olympian. He was the very first nonprofit client that I had as far as developing a nonprofit. And I had been speaking in community. That's actually how I met Lisa Nichols. I was speaking about strategic planning and strategies and going after grants and collaborations, which I learned really proficiently by being a director at the YMCA. And they brought me in to speak at a community event, and Lisa was there. She was working for the Boys and Girls Club. And afterwards, Lisa came to me and said, I want to know you. She said, I'm taking you as my big sister, and so that's how Lisa and I met. And then from that same meeting, it was a gentleman there that said, I want to introduce you to Carl Lewis. I think you can help him. There's some things he wants to do. And from there, it just really took off. And I realized how much organizations really needed the knowledge that I had. And I quit the Y in August 1994, August 19th, 1994, actually, and started the Creative Images Foundation.
So
and that's when
sorry.
Mm-hmm.
So in these 26 years, you've really come to face with a lot of these misunderstandings or misnomers about nonprofits. What would you say are the top three?
The very top is that you can't make any money, that a nonprofit can't make a profit. That's the very top, because most people are always worried about, will they be able to survive? Can they get paid? Is it worth starting that kind of a business?
Mm-hmm.
So that's the top one. And that is definitely a misnomer. I mean, nonprofit does not mean you can't make a profit. It's just a non-stock corporation.
And what would be the next misconception following that?
That they can't have any paid employees, that everyone has to be a volunteer. And that just plays right into that, that a nonprofit can't make a profit.
When you think about When you think about business owners that are coming to you to form a nonprofit, do they already have a for-profit business and they just want to add a nonprofit, or do they typically come to you knowing nonprofit is absolutely the route that I want to go?
No, they actually, someone has told them about that they should start a nonprofit, and they're confused on why would they even consider that. Because again, they're thinking that they have to work for free, and there's so much other stuff. It's almost like that. That's why I called the nonprofit arena September the stepchild of business, because people, they treat it like how you hear about stepchild, and I hate to categorize it this way, but you know how like in cartoons even they say they're treating me like a redheaded stepchild, or Cinderella was a stepchild. And that's how people tend to treat the nonprofit arena, when actually it's the third largest business sector in the United States. So when people come to me, and because someone has told them that they should step into the nonprofit arena, I first have to brick by brick break down this wall that they have built, whether it's on their own or what they've heard someone else say. They've got this big brick wall between them and the nonprofit arena, and they've never wanted to cross it or even look over it. So once they see it and they have clarity, the simplest way to put it, September, is that it allows them to reach clients that need them, that now they can reach them because grants will pay them to do so. That's really all the nonprofit arena does. It gives access to others that otherwise would not have had access. And with individuals' professional expertise, they can get paid to reach those individuals, whoever needs them.
Well, now let's talk about grants for a second. With all of this COVID stimulus packages and what my kids call Trump money going on out there. Tell me about grants. And I know you and I've talked about this a lot over the years, but let's educate our listeners on, what are grants? Where do they come from? Who chooses the money that is pulled from the grants? Who puts money in grants? What are they?
Well, grants, stimulus money is even grants. Block grants. A lot of people hear about CDBG money, and that's Community Development Block Grants. People hear about them, whether you're watching the news, and even with this COVID-19, they had phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 of stimulus money. That's nothing but big grants. But now there's so much other money besides what comes through the government. Individuals can even go to what's called thegivingpledge.org or givingpledge.org. And that's where over 100 plus billionaires, including Bill Gates, Warren Buffett, Zuckerberg, Ted Turner, Elon Musk, and so many others, have signed a pledge where they're giving 50 to 90% of their wealth away from now on. Those are grants. That's added over 900 billion annually to the pot. See, but there are a lot of people that are just downright against grants in the nonprofit arena, but it's because of their initial introduction. See, if you're new to this arena and your first time looking at a grant is through a federal or a federal grant, government grant, it'll scare the bejesus out of you. Because that's like being 5 or 10 years old trying to write a college thesis because of how the money came about, whether it's through taxes and then it gets voted on through the House and then the Senate and yada, 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 yada. But see, all of the non-government grants, like for instance, Target gives $4 to $5 million a week in grant funding. A Target grant application looks nothing like a government grant. And, so as a matter of fact, most grant funders now that are non-government, they just want a 2 or 3 page letter initially. And then from that, they'll ask you for additional information. Most people that I've introduced to looking at these grants, they look at it and say, Sherita, is that all? Because I've heard, and I say, that's why I say, have you actually looked at a grant? Because you're going by what you heard. And do not look at a government grant if you're new to grant writing. Okay. I don't even like doing government grants. And it's only because I've gotten so used to looking at the other grants that looking at a government grant, it's almost like, looking at Cliff Notes versus, reading a whole 200-page book, which one would you rather do? So.
Now, before we started recording, you were telling me that as cliche as it sounds, we've all heard it, I'm living my best life. And you said, without sounding so cliche, I truly am living my best life. And it's all being made possible through the nonprofit arena. Can you share what you're doing to live your best life through this channel?
Oh yeah. Well, see, for one, I've gotten sponsorships even to travel the country. When Ray and I were traveling and I was touring in our RV, I work virtually from right here as we're homesteading. See, and this is what I continuously try and teach people. You can be getting also fee for service as you're writing for grants and going after sponsorships. That's the third largest, to me, misconception about the nonprofit arena, is that people think that you must totally survive off of grants and donors. When no, nonprofits can have fee for service also, September. So while I'm sitting here, and the same way that you and I are on, I teach people all over the world virtually. And I've been doing this virtually since 2015. So COVID-19 is not new for me in working virtually. I've been trying to teach my clients how to do this no matter what their business is. So that allows me, when you and I get off the line, for me to go up and laugh and mess with my chickens and my 14 chickens, 4 ducklings, and 9 guinea. It allows me to go out and play with our 2 dogs that we've had, and then the 4 dogs that we've kind of inherited because they wandered up here on the land. And at the same time, we're turning our barn, our 150-year-old barn, that is a pass down from my great-great-grandfather, and now it's my plant nursery that I also am lining up to write grants for, so I can do horticulture and gardening with after school and weekends with youth, but also with seniors that can no longer actually work in their yards anymore, but would love to come here and still be pruning and messing with plants. There's absolutely nothing that you have a passion for that can't also become a program. And that's what I'm showing people how to do as we homestead. I'm sorry?
Say more about that.
About which? I'm sorry.
That's okay. The whatever you're currently doing in your business, if you're educating, you can turn that into a nonprofit. If you're educating your clients on something, it can be turned into a nonprofit, right?
If you're educating, if you are empowering, if you are bringing access to someone that didn't have access before. The entire nonprofit arena is built around giving access, whether there's access to leadership development, management training, access to better health, access to, you've heard me say, if you collect rocks, there's actually grants for you to turn that into a program. Because there's some youth or seniors that love rocks also. See, that would end up turning into a gang prevention or intervention program or a drug prevention program, because when youth are involved in something they're passionate about, those other unhealthy activities go by the wayside. You could be taking youth all over the world to rock formations, to the pyramids, to Easter Island, to the Grand Canyon. And get this, there's airlines that will give in-kind donated tickets for you to do so. It's limitless what this arena will allow you to do because you're giving access. You're making a difference in someone's life. That's why I use making a difference in almost everything that I do, because September, in the way that the universe is designed, no matter what it is you're doing in your life, is designed for you to be making a difference in someone's life. You know, I jokingly talk about a bus driver. You got a bus driver that's just doing it for the money. You got another bus driver that loves to drive and loves people. Well, that bus driver that loves to drive and loves people is not going to pass that stop of Mrs. Jones that he knows that's her stop, even though she's back there asleep. He's going to greet everybody by their name because they're his regular customers on that bus. See, when you're doing what you love, it's impossible to not impact someone else's life. It's impossible when you're doing what you love. And that's why I really feel like God has placed me in the nonprofit arena, because I've always loved making a difference. I've always loved helping someone else. And I had no idea the possibilities that existed within this arena. I'm still amazed every day. September, as we speak right now, I have chill bumps on my arms. I wake up sometimes and I wonder, how did I get so blessed that God allowed me to step into this arena? Now, do I have some disappointments? Of course. Sometimes I hate writing for people. Matter of fact, I only want to teach and I only want to teach about it because I want to be out on my horse. I'm looking for 2 horses that I'm going to get Ray up on, and we're going to be, riding the trails, and grants are going to cover that. There's a grant for that. You know why I want horses? Because if I could have had a place to go to when I was a young girl that allowed me to be close to a horse, September, I wouldn't have gotten pregnant my last year of high school. See, I myself, and I don't mind talking about it because our story helps someone else. Even though I was the captain of the cheerleading squad, I was junior class president, I had a lot of insecurities, but I just still found a way to do the things that I love. But if I would have had an after-school program instead of running to a young boy that I thought loved me more than anyone else, I would have gone to that horse that I loved more than anything else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's incredible.
And that's why I say it's our story. See, God allowed me to go the exact path I went on, because I teach from it. It gave me my mechanisms to grow my business and to do what I do and touch lives. So I say that I wish I could have had that horse, but I would, if my path would have been any different, September, I probably would not be sitting here on the land I'm on and doing what I do. So I ask people to look at their path and know that it's guiding them to something greater, that they have no idea as they're climbing that hill, that when they reach their peak and start down, you're going to see why you went through what you went through. And that's why I even use what I've heard Lisa to say. Sometimes the gifts that we're handed, they're wrapped in sandpaper and we get scratched as we open them. But when you get them open, the gifts, oh my God, I get so, the gifts that have come out of my trials, September, the gifts, my meeting Ray, you know, and every part of it, like Ray is out there right now working in his shop. Don't think that I'm not writing a grant to teach young people woodworking, because most schools now it's been eliminated. September, there are so many things that you have experienced in your life that I'm so glad to be working with you, that I can show you how there's a grant for that. It's unbelievable what this arena allows you to do. I get so overtaken by it sometimes.
Well, I think, not to be abrupt in changing it, but I think it just feels so overwhelming to business owners. Yeah, it sounds really good. This could be a really good channel. It could be a really great strategy. Yeah, it could make a difference. But I'm so busy running the day-to-day business, just making ends meet and doing what I have to do to keep the company going and bringing in new revenue, that the thought of venturing off into nonprofits feels so overwhelming. Not knowing how to write the grants, not even knowing what kind of grants to go after. How do you structure it? I mean, it just feels like it's starting a brand new business in a lot of ways. What would you tell someone?
And I'm so glad you said that. I'm so glad you said that, because September, whenever you start a nonprofit, it should start on the exact path that you're on. See, back when I started my organization, I had no idea that I could be on this land, that I could have it as a nursery, I had no idea. I started doing exactly what I was doing. See, when I was at the Y, I was training people in computers. I was training individuals on how to collaborate. I just quit and started doing the exact same thing and getting paid to do it before grants even came in. You know, see, like I was saying, your organization, whatever you're doing, there's somebody you're missing because they can't afford you.
Hmm.
So you should start your nonprofit on the exact path that you're on. I just give people ideas to let them know all the other things they can branch into. That's why I beg my clients, watch how you name your organization. Just because you're an IT person now, don't name it, like Sherita Herring in Technology Training Foundation, because there's so much more to Sherita Herring that once you see it, you're going to start branching into something else. And now you got to go back and rebrand. You got to rename yourself, rebrand the same way the YMCA had to, because they started out as the Young Men's Christian Association. And look how broad they are now. You don't even have to be a Christian, and you definitely don't have to be a man. That's why they spent all that money and did all that rebranding, and now you just see the big Y. Even in the for-profit arena, Kentucky Fried Chicken, most people don't even know what KFC stands for. So if you name your company and it locks you into where you're pigeonholed into one area, you're going to rebrand, I guarantee you, especially if you know me, because
Yes.
I dig deeper to find out, wait a minute, you're doing this, but you don't even seem excited about that. What is your true passion? And I mean, one guy, he loves doing model cars, loves them. Even in his 60s, if he could just sit and do model cars, that's what he would do. And he didn't know that he could actually be paid to do it and sit with other seniors that love doing model cars. Matter of fact, the makers of the model cars will become your sponsor and totally supply them to you.
That's incredible. I mean, the ideas. I always learn so much when I talk to you, Sherita. Always. You open up my mind in ways that nobody can. You just don't think about it like that. You don't think this guy's hobby passion of fiddling around in the garage, he can impact other lives doing it and make money. There's a way for him to bring in him or her, bring in revenue by just doing what they love on the side.
There's no way, September, I am a God-fearing woman. And I have come to the understanding that there is absolutely no way that God put a passion in you so deep that you can't survive off of it. He doesn't do that. He doesn't just play.
Mm-hmm.
If you have something that you love so much, that's why my second motto is, with faith comes finance. If you have a passion in you so deep that you eat, sleep, and drink it, I guarantee you that you can survive off of it. There absolutely should not be any starving artists. There should not be, if someone has the voice of a songbird, they haven't worked hard enough or stayed consistent enough where they can't make a living off of it. If you're a wordsmith and an unbelievable author or poet, You haven't worked hard enough or stayed consistent enough where you don't have to be doing anything else. Bernie, as much as he loves storytelling, I've been trying to let Bernie know for years, there's storytelling funding. Bernie should just be telling stories.
He'd be really good at it, wouldn't he?
Yes.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't have to watch the clock because of the next class that's starting.
That's true.
There is no way, September, our God, whatever way you want to look at it, when one tree is blooming and another one is dying out, and then when fall comes, this one turns and another. If he did that with trees and birds and plants, we all are different and have different passions and abilities. There's a reason, there's a need for it. It's not just because. And that's why I tell people, stop treating the nonprofit arena like it's a side gig, like it's a hobby. It allows you to show your God-given talents because someone else needs you. Mm-hmm. And I didn't know all of this, September, when I first started the nonprofit arena. God revealed it. I used to wonder, I know I'm getting off subject, but my dad is a preacher. I called him one time, I was in my mid-30s. Dad, how come people always say it was God? You know, I was just at a meeting and they were talking like it was nothing but God and yada, yada, yada. And he let me go on for a few minutes. And then he finally said, are you done? And I was like, oh, yeah, because I was calling him long distance. He was in Kansas City, I was in Los Angeles. Fast forward to when my father fell ill and I moved home in 2008. Now I'm in my 50s or return 50. And I just, now September, again, when you just do what you love, things show up like you never would believe. I had prayed that, Lord, I wish that I could just be on something where I could talk about God, what it's doing for me. And it ended up that when I go to Kansas City, they put me on the radio broadcast on a gospel station. Okay. So I come home from the station. I don't even realize how my language has changed. So I walk in the house and I'm telling my dad said, how'd it go? I was listening to the show. Oh, Dad, you just won't believe it. It is nothing but God. I'm telling you, for me to come here and be able to talk about God and talk about grants and talk about what it can do. And I was going on and on and on. And my dad always said it like this, you done? And my dad stuttered, you done? And I said, yeah. He said, and it brought him to tears as he was going to say it. And he said, baby, he said, if I were to leave here today, nothing is more important than to see that you now have a personal relationship with God. Because what he had said to me those years back, he said, my nickname is Shub. He said, Shub, once you develop a personal relationship with God, you will never ask again, why do people say that? Or how do they know? And he just left it at that. So now, fast forward to 2008, and I'm sitting there with him. He said, do you remember when you called me? And I said, yeah, Dad. He said, and that's when he went into that. He was so grateful that I now have that personal relationship, you know. And so I try not to overwhelm people with it because I was once not there. But what I do try and encourage people to do is there's a talent in you, there's a passion in you that this arena will allow you to work in it full-fledged. Now, you don't have to step all into it right now. Let me show you how your nonprofit can work right along side by side with your for-profit, doing exactly what you do, the same way. The largest advertising firm in Hollywood is BLT Communications. But they were also doing sizzle reels, like when you see the big billboards, the commercials on television, the shorts about whatever movie's coming out, that's BLT Communications. But they also do the same thing for nonprofits, churches, schools, and even organizations working in indigenous countries for, that are nonprofit. So their owner, which now they've come to me now, I'm doing a different nonprofit with this COVID-19 happening. But at that time, a girl that worked for her was in my class. And she said, and that's when she said, you mean Sherita? And that's when she introduced me about what BLT Communications does and all that. She said, I'd like for you to come meet with my boss and tell her how we can do this same thing as a nonprofit. Well, if you go to bltcommunicationsnow.com, and I think it's over on the right, you'll see BLT Helps. That's their nonprofit I developed. That their CPAs and their lawyers said could not happen, should not happen, that they might get in trouble with the IRS. September, we developed their nonprofit so quickly. It was approved in less than 45 days, and it's been operating ever since. And that was 10, 12 years ago. And then just last month, I get an email. Hi, Sherita, this is Whitney. You may not remember me. You developed our BLT Helps. And with COVID-19 going on, we need your help again. And there's a lot of people that do their work, sizzle reels, graphics, web design, that now that COVID-19 has hit, all those people are out of work.
Mm-hmm.
So we're developing a nonprofit that can where they can be awarded dollars to these individuals that are out of work and help them to transition and start their own businesses while this COVID-19 is going on.
It's beautiful.
There's no limit. There's no limit.
Mm-mm.
I mean, in September, I can talk all day about this stuff and just how I've seen it touch lives. And that's what made me start helping people to do what they love.
That's beautiful. I love it. I can't wait to hear what you have to say at the upcoming forum, Living Your Best Life While Doing Good, and the journey that you've taken, that life has taken you on this journey and has led you here. It's been such a pleasure getting to know you and to develop a relationship with you and to learn from you. I love learning from you. You're such a great teacher, and you always have something amazing to say that just opens my mind up even more around these nonprofits. I just want to encourage people to really explore this option. It could be an option. Why struggle? Why struggle in your for-profit when you can thrive in a nonprofit? And the options are there. The roadmap is there. The tools that you need is there. The ability to go from A to Z is right there for them. They just need to know how to do it and get connected to the right people. And I mean, I know our community cannot recommend you enough. I know a lot of our members have utilized your services, and you've made a huge impact, not just on their life, but the lives that they have the opportunity to touch. Thank you so much for sharing your gift with the world, Sherita. It's such a pleasure.
Well, thank you. It's a thrill, and I encourage people, they should have a for-profit and a nonprofit. Mm-hmm. See, the United States is the superpower that we are. Hopefully we will remain because of not only the for-profit arena, but the nonprofit arena. And that's why other countries are wanting to duplicate how our economy operates. Mm. See, it's not that everyone should just have a nonprofit, but the joy is being able to operate with both footprints, because then no doors are shut to you. You know, you can either go in door number 1 or door number 2, and they both can be just as equally, satisfying and beneficial and lucrative. It just depends on who you want to help, and so by having that access, September, I teach something as simple as most people, if you got a rich person, a rich guy and a poor guy, whose car breaks down the most? The poor guy. Who ends up pushing his car? The poor guy. Well, why is he pushing? Because he could have AAA, but because in his mind he thinks he doesn't have access, he hasn't even checked out the cost of AAA. He just thought that he did, that must be only for rich people. But he doesn't realize the tennis shoes that he has on his feet that he would get upset if someone steps on cost 3 and 4 times more than what AAA would be for a year. Mm-hmm. Once he knows that, he'll never push his car again. And that's what the nonprofit arena allows. It shows people that they do have access, and it brings the individuals to them that gives them access. They will never go back again. Perfect example is the guys that I was training in the prison. Once I helped connect them to services, and when they got out, we reduced that recidivism rate by 75%. Most people don't know they have access.
It's true. It's very true.
So once they know, the sky's the limit.
Beautiful. Well, Sherita, where can our listeners find out more about you?
Well, you can go to our website at philanthropyalliance.org. That's philanthropy. A lot of people say, how do you spell that? PHILANTHROPY. Philanthropy Alliance, ALLIANCE.org. One thing about that word, September, most all of us are philanthropists, and we just don't use it. We don't realize it, and that should be a part of your resume, should be a part of your websites. Philanthropy is just you giving, whether it's time, energy, advice to someone that needed it. People always think philanthropists are people that give major dollars, and that's it.
Mm-hmm.
We all, in our heart of hearts, are philanthropists, and we should claim it. Okay?
I love it. Thank you so much, Sherita. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I always love talking to you. I love you dearly.